replaying the breakup over and over and over, and maybe thinking, oh, I hope they realize what they lost. Or even secretly wishing something bad would happen, just, so they would feel the same pain that you did. You know what? You're not alone. This weekend, I was actually having a great time with some friends, but all of us, we were six, and all of us were divorced. All strong, and yet some of them, they were still angry. And this is normal. And they were not angry just because they hadn't grown, but because they were still stuck in the story. So, welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of From Breakup to Badass. I am Yanira Puy, your speaker, wellness coach, and guide through the messy, beautiful process of rebuilding your life after heartbreak. And if you haven't yet done so, please hit that subscribe button or follow in your favorite platform so you don't miss another episode of the From Breakup to Badass. In today's episode, I want to talk about rage, that fire that sometimes can feel powerful, but actually keeps you tied to the past. And we don't want that, right? And by the end of the episode, you'll understand why anger is necessary, because it is, but temporary part of healing. The neuroscience behind why it feels so addictive and how to release it without suppressing it so you can finally move forward in peace, because that's what we want. So let's talk a little bit about the truth about rage, okay? So after a breakup, anger feels like control, right? Like I'm in control if I'm angry. It's the only emotion that gives us energy when everything else has been taken away from us, right? But here's what most people don't realize. Anger is meant to move through you, not live inside you. And this is really important. And I have talked about, dealing with emotions, about emotional resilience. And we gotta feel the emotions. And we're so blessed that we can feel the emotions. But in this case, we're talking about anger. And this anger, it's supposed to move through you, but not stayed inside you. And I think that's what I have seen the most every time I coach women that are getting through a breakup. And according to research, anger activates the brain's amygdala and reward circuits. And I've talked about dopamine before. That's the reward circuits, right? And it's similar to the rush of adrenaline or even caffeine. So that's why you feel sometimes so powerful, like you have the power in that moment when you feel anger. But if we keep feeling anger, that it's going to keep the cortisol up, right? Or the cortisol levels high and impairs emotional regulation. Cortisol is the hormone related to stress. When we're stressed, we're in a fight or flight mechanism, right? And if we're in that state, we're not seeing clearly. We're just like, we're thinking that there is a shark and we're in the sea swimming, right? And there's a shark. So the fight or flight response is, okay, what do I do? Do I keep swimming, hopefully, or stay calm to see if the shark is not going to eat me alive? So when you're anger, it's the same thing. You're in a fight or flight stress. And that's not going to give you the clarity to move forward. So that rush that you feel while renting or replaying the story, that's not good all the time. We have to feel it, we get to feel it, but we need to let it go. And this is very important. So your brain is feeding the addiction to control and justify. And it's not healing, it's actually recycling the pain, because every time that you relive the past, you are thinking about this over and over if you don't reframe it. So what's the story that keeps you stuck? As a coach, I have seen this over and over, and not only with women that are going through a breakup, but in their life. They might be going, they might have lost the job, they got fired, or something else. And in a sense, I've seen and I've heard so many times my clients say, "I'm fine, I'm fine," but 5 minutes later, she's saying he'll regret losing me. That's the anger. That's not closure. That's the revenge fantasy. And I have talked about what happened when we break up, after a after a long relationship. When we break up, when we get divorced, the life that life in the future that we thought that we were gonna leave it, that's dead. That die. All the dreams, all the things that you wanted to do together. So it's hard. It could be challenge, to stay in that state. And that's why we keep that rage keep us in that fantasy, and it keeps that future alive. You understand what I'm saying? It's so interesting. So it keeps, when we are in that anger mood all the time, it keeps your nervous system tied to the same person that you're trying to release, right? Isn't that funny? Like, we're trying to forget, and we don't forget because of all the anger, because, oh, I want them to suffer. They need to go through the same thing that I went through. So when we say things like, "Oh, he'll see me one day. Oh, I hope she ends up miserable," we're still centering our story around them. We're giving them power every time we do this. So, as long as your story revolves around your ex, you cannot rewrite your next chapter. And from breakup to badass, it's all about rewriting that next chapter. So, that's what I told one of my clients recently. You're not angry at him anymore. You're angry at who you became trying to keep him. And that realization changed everything. I love those aha moments every time I coach you. What's the psychology about that anger? You know that I love to bring studies and exercises that you can actually do. Again, the more informed that you are, the better decisions that you're going to make for your life. And this is your life, the only one that you're living. So I invite you to try your best. You just have to be a better person, 1% each day. That's a good one. So, according to the Journal of Behavioral Medicine, unresolved anger increases your risk of heart disease by 19% and sleep disturbances by 60%. I'm a health coach, I'm a wellness coach, I'm a speaker. So my life, everything is around wellness. And I do believe that if you practice a healthy life, you can overcome everything in life. But these kind of things, having the anger inside of you all the time, it can cause heart disease more than if you don't have it. And it could, cause insomnia or other sleep disturbances. So yes, biologically, your body doesn't know the difference between being angry at your ex and being in actual danger. And that's why I told you the story about the shark before. Like, sometimes I use a shark, sometimes I tell my clients, or every time I'm speaking in an organization, that stress is like seeing a tiger. Like, you're walking around, you're on a trail, and you see, well, let's say a snake. I don't think there are tigers in the trail, but let's say a snake. So when you see the snake, your body is in a fight or flight. So what do? Do I stay? The snake's gonna bite me, or do I run? And that's the stress, and your body doesn't make it doesn't see the difference if it is a tiger, a shark, a snake, or you being angry at your ex. Isn't it beautiful? It is beautiful. So anger releases cortisol, which is the hormone the hormone for stress. But that when your cortisol levels are high, that blocks oxytocin. Oxytocin is the hormone of connection and calm. That's why, every time I'm in a conference or every time in a workshop that I'm giving, I tell everybody to hug me for 8 seconds, because every time we do that, our body releases oxytocin and it calms down. So as long as you're angry, your brain literally can't access peace or trust. That's why forgiveness isn't about them. It's about you, about regulating your nervous system. It's an act of self-care and not permission. And I do believe that one of the episodes I talk about wellness. I'm sorry, about forgiveness. So go back and see it. All right. The question, like, I get asked, but what do I do? Like, I feel all this anger. What do I do? So how to release anger without suppressing it? Very important. We have to feel it. It's just that we don't want it stuck inside us. Okay. So you can't just tell someone, get over it. It doesn't work that way. It's not as simple as that. And everybody's story is different. We're just trying to get the right tools so we can actually change our life and move forward. You have to move through it, your body and your story. So here are some of the tools that I have used before in my past with my 2 divorces and for my clients, and they might work for you as well. So one of the things is the write and rip exercise. You take 10 minutes and you write a letter. Oh my God, like sometimes I cannot pronounce words. Sorry about that. A letter that you're never going to send to, your ex. And in that letter, you're going to say everything, every curse, every how could you, I don't forgive you, and let the anger breathe on paper. And then rip it and burn it and delete it, whatever, like if you're doing it in a computer. Believe me, your body will feel lighter because you gave your anger a voice instead of a cage. That's why it's very important to feel your emotions. And I remember, so the first time I got divorced, I saw this guy. His name was Charlie. I would go there and he would work on my chakras and all that. So of course I was going through my first divorce and it was tough. I gotta admit, and it was different, it was challenging. And one of the things he recommended was this letter. And he said, write it. And I wrote it. And then he said, no, actually he said, burn the letter. And I did. And then he said, write another one. And I did like 3 different letters. And what do you think it happens? That anger, it went away. When you write and when you actually see it, it's like you give it that voice, but the power goes away and that anger goes away. So that's something that I really do recommend. One of the other things is the anger walk. So take a walk alone, no phone, and every time you step, maybe you can say out loud, I release you. And you repeat it with your rhythm. I release you. I forgive you. I let you go. Whatever you feel, right? Because movement helps the body metabolize emotions that sometimes words can't. And I think the other one that you can do is the compassion reframe. So ask yourself, what was this person here to teach me? Even if your answer is never lose myself again, that's power. That's power. I mean, my last relationship, that relationship helped me see so many things that I just feel grateful that I was in that relation for 7 years, because I learned so much afterwards, like the things that I want and the things that I don't want, the things that I did and that I won't do again, right? So that's very important. And I have always mentioned to you before that if you focus on the pain, you're going to keep suffering. But if you focus on the lesson, you're going to keep growing, you're going to keep learning. All right. And this is very important. So always ask yourself what that person taught me. Okay. All right. Let's summarize this. Holding on to rage feels like armor sometimes. Like if I'm in rage, I have the power, I am strong, but it's actually a cage. It's not an armor. It keeps you defending a wound that's already ready to heal. Because don't you want to heal? I'm sure you want to heal. You don't want to feel like this for a person that maybe gave you a lot, because you most likely your ex gave you a lot, if you can see it that way. So if you're still angry, look, it's okay. It means that you cared, it means that you love, but you don't unpack and live there for the rest of your life. I mean, I don't want to see you there for 10 years. So use that energy to rebuild your boundaries, your self-respect, your peace. I think it was Nelson Mandela. He said, resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. I got chills. Yeah, it's true. So resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It's you who are taking like everything, not the other person. So just think about it for a moment. And I'm going to repeat it one more time. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. So maybe today's the day you stop drinking the poison. At least, I don't know, 1 ounce less, and start choosing peace. Write down this sentence and finish it. Today, I choose to release the version of me that, and then, like that kept replaying the stories, that waited for closure, that used anger to feel powerful. And keep that sentence somewhere that you can see it, okay? If this episode, this is beautiful, right? If this episode helped you see your anger differently, share with someone who's still caught in the revenge story. Because you know what? Let's spread emotional healing, not recycling the pain. And if you haven't done so, download your free From Breakup to Badass cheat sheet, which is in the description of the episode. And remember to tag me at Yanira Puy Wellness on Instagram and tell me one thing that you're ready to release today. And if you want to learn how to coach with me outside this podcast, send me an email at info@janirapuy.com. So that's what I have for you today. And I'm going to leave you with the same thing that I leave you every single episode. Remember, you've got this. Now go live like the badass that you are.